Here are 5 sci-fi and fantasy books that were released in 2025 that are notable that you probably heard about. Some worked well for me, some didn't work as well, and I think all of them are worth considering looking at. So here to guide you of some titles you probably heard about that were released last year. Let's go. The first one is Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon. This is the first book in the series you probably heard about. It's called The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's called Roots of Chaos, the series. There's Priory of the Orange Tree, which was released, I don't know, 5 or so years ago. And then a prequel called The Day of Fallen Night. Those are absolutely phenomenal books. They're some of my favorite books in fantasy. Samantha Shannon has created a fantasy world that is rich with political intrigue, very complex characters that care about integrity. In a world of grimdark, which I'm a fan of grimdark, but in a right now a literary landscape of grimdark where that's very popular, this is like the anti-grimdark books. These books are about loyalty, friendship, integrity, doing what's right, layered with very complex characters and relationships, and lots of complex themes, and an amazing, very immersive world. I'm a huge fan of her books, and Among the Burning Flowers is a prequel novel. The other books are pretty chonky, they're pretty big. This one she released, I think, is an attempt to get people to join the world and to get into the world without having to read her other books first. I think this book does accomplish it, but it can be a little dense. I found a lot of the lore and the history, I found it really interesting because I knew the backstory. If you weren't initiated into that story, you might find it a little dense. Although the main character, which focuses on a princess of a kingdom that's kind of captured by the release of a dragon, which you find out pretty soon in the book, and how she navigates that and the world as it changes with this new evil that's unleashed. That's a big theme in all the books. And so I found the main story very captivating. There are some unfinished plot threads, which I found, which was kind of an interesting choice that she made. Overall, I really did enjoy it, but I recommend you don't start with this book. I think you should start with either Priory of the Orange Tree or A Day of Fallen Night. I think A Day of Fallen Night is the best book of the series. Do not skip Samantha Shannon. Her prose can be a little flowery, it can be a little hard to get into, but if you stick with it, you will be highly rewarded. The next book is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Speaking of grimdark, I'm just as big of a fan as Joe Abercrombie as anybody else. I've read his First Law series, which is top notch, right? Modern fantasy doesn't get better than The Blade itself, and the rest of that series of the First Law. This book, The Devils, this is his foray into a new series, a new concept, which is very welcomed because I was getting a little tired of. I mean, I really liked his other standalones in the First Law, like The Heroes was really good, and Best Served Cold. Those are good books. I wasn't a big fan of The Age of Madness. I thought the themes got a little tired and the villains got a little one-dimensional and they didn't really develop. And I got a little sick of his series that he was continuing. So I found The Devils to be a welcome departure from that. And The Devils is a book about basically an adventure of a bunch of monsters in a historical monster revision of like the 15th century, 16th century Europe. The characters are way over the top. There's tons of dark comedy. It's got that witty, pithy writing from Joe Abercrombie that you will love. But as I said, the characters are over the top. Sometimes it's a little tiresome. With each scene, it kind of saps the drama with so much joke. It's almost like, what is it, that movie Sucker Punch? There's a lot of there's a lot of that going on in this book. I did enjoy it. It's like a popcorn book. It's like you show up, you enjoy it, it ends. I actually don't know if I'm going to continue this series because it just didn't have that depth and lore and meaning that I found with his other books. But I do recommend you check it out with The Devils. The third book is a Wizard of Earthsea graphic novel by Ursula K. Le Guin. I was super excited to check this out when I got it, so I bought it immediately when I knew that it existed. I read it. I found that the retelling of the Earthsea, of the Wizard of Earthsea, which is what this is, was good, and the artwork was phenomenal. The artwork was phenomenal, but it was hampered by the darkness and the textures. You could barely see the images. It was weird. I'm sitting there reading it. I'm like, do I have enough light going on with these? There's something with that printing that when it came out, it didn't work. You can barely see the images, and I think that was a major flaw and a major oversight of publishing it. The graphic novel retelling was very good, a little dry and boring at sometimes. Sometimes there's like Kayla Gwyn's stories are just kind of like that. So I found the storytelling to be really good and a really nice retelling of the wizard in the Earthsea cycle. But I think it was really hampered by the artwork. The artwork was good, but the printing of it was quite poor. The next book released in 2025 was The Martian Contingency. This is a series from Mary Robinette Kowal. It's the fourth book, I've read them all obviously because it's the fourth book, of a 1960s retelling. A meteor hits in like 1960s. It wipes out like the eastern starboard of the United States. It completely changes the world. Western culture and the United States now changed their priorities to getting to space in the 1960s. So they ramp up the space program, and that's what the series is about. And it's about a polymath who wants to become an astronaut. It's called the Lady Astronaut series. She wants to become an astronaut in the first book, and I really enjoy the series overall. Her character arc and the other characters are really good. I've listened to some audiobooks which the author narrates herself, and she does a phenomenal job. It's a really great series. The Martian Contingency is now, things have moved to Mars, and I did enjoy it, but it stalled a little bit. I feel like the story stalled. And if you're familiar with the story, the character Stenson and the dynamic between Stenson and the main character, Emma, wasn't there. That tension wasn't there. And the author is taking some, kind of taking the story in a different direction that I wasn't anticipating. It's not bad. It's just not what I was quite expecting. And I found the story to be kind of spinning its wheels a little bit in The Martian Contingency. It's not bad. It's a great series. I recommend you do get into it. I actually did an interview with Mary Robinette Kowal. I was on an author panel with her at a conference recently that I'll put in the link if you want to see that with me and her. And also Malka Olrder. She wrote Infomocracy. And also her name eludes me right now. I'll put up the books here so you can see them. She wrote Semiosis. And it was a sci-fi panel. It was really great. It was a good time. I'll put in the link so you can watch that author panel if you want. The last book released last year was Shadows of Time by Christopher Ruocchio. This is the Sun Eater series. This is the seventh book. Now I'm cheating a little bit. I'm right in the middle of this book right now. I'm like 25% through. I will make a video about the whole Sun Eater series. It obviously lives up to its name. Christopher Ruocchio is a prolific sci-fi writer. He's carving himself quite the name right now for his work with the Sun Eater series. This book is obviously true to the series if you're following it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be really good. Some of the spoiler-free reviews I've read, lots of reviewers like it. I think I'm going to like it. But this is definitely a notable release last year in November. So stay tuned with this book. I will have much more to say about the Sun Eater series in probably a week or two after this. Anyway, those are just some of my reads from 2025. I read much more than that. Things that you may have heard of. I'll wrap it up. You can take a look at those books. You can take a look at my website if you want. I'm an author. I write books. I have a website you can check out if you want. No pressure. I'm also a medical doctor. I do a medical podcast, but I also talk a lot about medical or fiction books and nonfiction books as well. I read a lot of nonfiction, a lot of fiction, and I just love talking about books. That's what this channel is all about. I just got to have an output. I love talking about books. I love talking about sci-fi and fantasy. So you can check out my links and subscribe and keep following along. I'm going to pump out lots of more videos. Thanks.